All right, how you people doing? Um, let's see, because I don't see too many videos of people actually talking about this thing lately. With the Reddit, there's a thread, not official thread, but a thread for the Unico Blast. And the big thing is, very few people talking about it. I finally got one in last week. So far, I have to say my personal opinion about this thing. I like it. I do. I like it. I like the fact that, I like the fact that you can sit down. I like the fact that it's pretty much bring your own device. I already have a previous arcade machine right here. Sorry about the mess on it. I've had it for 10 years and now I'm trying to sell it. If I can't sell it, then I don't know, I hate to trash a perfectly good machine. You cabinet anyway, I'll take the electronics out, but I have a couple of people that are interested in it, just haven't got back with me. So far about this thing, the build quality, I have to say I would say out of I would say 1 out of 10. I'll give it a probably about a 7.5. Let's just say I give it a 7. Mainly because the cabinet's pretty sturdy. In my case, nothing came out damaged out the base. Everything was fine. It's just once when you pull everything out, it feels a little flimsy. But once you put it together, the base was really solid. My top part had a little damage. Part of it may be how it was treated, because when I got the top part, it wasn't raining. I got that through FedEx. I mean, the bottom part came through FedEx. The top part came through UPS the next day, and it was raining, so the box was already messed up. One of the things I wish Unico did was put straps on all of their boxes just in case, because the UPS had to flip it upside down because the bottom was wet and deteriorating. So soon as I got the notification, where I saw on my doorbell from my doorbell that it was here. You might be asking, where my control panel? Actually, taking it off, went to a welding shop to get a duplicate made out of it, because what I want to do is I want to add the trackball to it, and instead of damaging my existing one, I want to make a copy of it. Made a copy of it. I'm gonna get some decals put over top, and I want the trackball because I do play games. I do play games like Golden Tee, Marble Madness. What else? Golden Tee, Marble Madness. Centipede and stuff like that. Let's see. I would say the pluses so far. I would say it's a nice screen, not the best quality, but it's a nice size screen. It's 4x3, but I can live with that. I've actually made some adjustments. I do have one actual arcade CPS2 game, Dungeons and Dragons Tower of Doom. That was the first thing I tried to make sure it worked. Shout out to Undamned with their Infinity Key chip. If you got a CPS2 game and you haven't been playing in a while and it died, definitely go seek them out. One place is Paradise Arcade. That's where I bought it from. It was like $25 for the chip. Got it in a couple of days. Soldered it to took the battery off my game. Put the chip on there, and I was excited, waiting for my Nova Blast to get in. As soon as my Nova Blast, I put it together. First thing I did was put that machine in, and it worked. Booted up like a charm. Had to finagle a little bit of the picture to get it working, because it was a little squished and was off center, but fixed it so it filled the whole screen, and it worked like a charm. Let's see. Like I said, I don't have the control panel, but I do have the buttons here. They are genuine Sanwa buttons and joysticks. So even though they said that sometimes they'll say, some companies will say they got a particular brand name or brand name style, but these are actual Sanwa joysticks and buttons. I don't care too much for the colors, but I'm taking it as a Japanese thing. Because I looked up some Sega candy cabs from back in the day, and they had the same button scheme. Matter of fact, if you find plates for the Astro City, they work on this too. I'm changing them out for these Ultimark RGB buttons, because I've had those on my old arcade machine. I like them. I'm not any kind of competitive player. I'm a casual guy, so all I'm playing maybe a little Street Fighter when family come over, friends come over, a little Street Fighter, MVC or something like that. But mostly I'm playing old school games. And another thing now that it sits down, I might actually make this my main gaming rig. Mainly because I got a ninth gen Core i7 in here. I got a ninth gen Core i7 with a 3060 12 gigabit model graphics card RTX 3060 in here, which I had it previously playing Halo Infinite on it, no problem. I like how they give you these were attached to the sticks that goes to the encoders. I forgot the chip is it's a Raspberry Pi based chip, which when I finally looked it up online, I have to look it up. When I finally looked it up online, I found how easy it is to get into these to fix it, because it has different modes. You have Nintendo mode, Sony mode, and Xbox PC mode, which when you plug it in, it'll look just like a 360 controller, as well as has a keyboard mode too. So depending on what emulators you're using for these or what games you're playing, you can use keyboard mode. One of the things I didn't like were the screws they use. They use these hex. Let's see if I can focus it in. These hex head screws, which are fine for security, but the biggest thing is that they got the main screws that you're gonna be using are these smaller ones. And the fact that if you, like me, I'm using a drill, so I stripped a couple, because they put a whole bunch of extra screws in here. But it's just the fact that, you be careful if you're using like a not drill, but electric screwdriver or something like that. You don't want to strip these. I wish it came with another set of screws, and these are all M. Like I said, I don't have the control board here. I'm going to replace the buttons. I took the white ones out to put these in, but I'm going to get white ones instead, so that way it all look nice instead of these off color ones just sitting out. Because the way it's set up, you got 8 buttons on this side, 8 buttons on this side, 2 start buttons, play 1, play 2, start, coin, and this is the home function. I like that it has audio built in, but the problem with this is that there's a nasty little hum with it. One thing I don't like, I wish it had a button for the simple fact that some people might put a PC to make this the emulation device. Well, I wish they would have put a button on it. So what I did was I didn't want to drill into it. As you can see by I had gloves on and marked it up, so I got to clean that off. But I made my own button and wired it to my power LED. So as you can see, I press the button, cuts on. They definitely need to improve on their quality control, because there's a few things I had to fix on my own. And also, when I took it out of the box, there was a scratch in the monitor. I emailed them twice to let them know about the issue, sent them pictures. I have yet to get a response. It's been a week. I'm sure it was coming from overseas. Let me turn this off because I don't want big box to come up right now. One of the things about the monitor, like I said, it's nice colors. Unfortunately, there's not too many adjustments through color you can do on this when you're in HDMI. But I noticed when I was on CGA with my Dungeons Dragons, there's knobs on the back that you can adjust the color for. So I just went in Windows and adjusted the color itself in Windows. It's fine for whatever it is. No big deal. Hopefully another company come up with a 26-inch square 4x3 monitor that I can replace for this. From what I understand, the Nova Blast have the newer versions of that Phoenix monitor. So take that as you will. But the boards, I've been lucky that my board actually works. The only thing is it's a little finicky with the controller board. I hope they improve that. From online, a few people saying that they have improved it, or you can get a replacement controller, but you got to pay the $20 for them to ship it. Which that to me, that stuff, if it's under warranty, it should be free. You shouldn't be having to pay to ship it. But that's the world we live in. Let's see. Once again, back to quality control. As you can hear, let me be quiet for a second. That's on full blast, and you can hear the hum through it. I I got one of those magnets to put on my wires, but it's still, if I unplug the wire for the sound for the jammer, the hum is not so loud, but I left it plugged in only because, hey, I might plug in every once in a while my actual Dungeons and Dragons and play that instead of going through emulation. So let me give you a little tour. And one of the things I didn't like was this, and other people were saying the same thing. This had happened to theirs. It cracked during shipping. I think what they should have done is don't put this on, wrap it up, and have it leaning on this and leave the screw somewhere else. So that way, this is protected. The screen is protected, and the shield, the cover, is protected by bubble wrap. Another quality control issue I had was when everything was plugged in. I don't know if you can see it from here, but I'll go on the other side. But that board with the red, hold on, that board in the background, can't really see it too well, but that board in the background, that's the power delivery, not power delivery, but power spread. For lack of a better term, that's where everything plugs in, your lights, speakers, monitor plugs into this to get power, and those two wires all the way in the background, identical plugs, go to the power supply, to the two different power supplies. So one power supply is, I'm assuming both of them are in circuit, in series to deliver power to this instead of having one big power supply do everything. I want to assume it's in series. When I took it apart, you can see one wire going to the other one, and then the two separate ones going in, coming from the plug. As you can tell, as you already tell, I did some modifications to it, because one of the things I did was put this button on. Back to the quality control. When this was plugged in, when the marquee light was plugged in, the sound stopped working and my monitor started flickering. So I went in and unplugged the light from back here. I unplugged the light, plugged it back into the power delivery block, the power block here. Didn't freak out. I still heard sound. So as soon as, let me flip the plug around, plugged it in. Yeah, so I figured the negative was going to the positive going to the negative. So that's what caused the issue. I'm glad I figured that out before it did any damage. So as soon as I did that, pull the wires out the plug, flip them around, put them back in. Lo and behold, it started working. Let's see. Let me take you around to the back side. Let me grab the key. One thing I like about it, you get plenty of keys. So if you lose a key, that means you meant to lose your keys. The base came with 2, 4, 6 keys by itself. 2 came with the coin door, 2 came with the chute, 2 was on this right here. Let's see, let me flip her bad stuff around. One thing I like about this is on wheels. People thought ahead. I did some modifications. I went and got some Thermalright. It didn't come with these at the bottom, and it come with 2 black ones at the top. But what I did was I took some Thermalright fans, put them together, hooked them up to the PC and to the RGB header. And I'm waiting for the extension cable, because I did the same thing up here, but I'm going to take the extension cable for the RGB and connect them to these. Another thing I did was this plate back here. I took the plate off, put network connection here, put USB connection here. So that way, because I'm planning on getting sending guns, so that way I can plug them back here and then get the holsters. Hopefully I can attach them by magnets, but set them here. This came with another set of keys for here. Actually came with another 6 keys for this for some reason. But open this up. When you get the top portion, this is just laying here. This is just laying, no, this was screwed in. This was just laying here on the top portion. And another thing, back to quality control, was, there you go, my Dungeons and Dragons game right here. Like I said, shout out to Undamned for the nice kit. So if you got a CPS2 game that you had sitting around, or the battery died on it, definitely pick up one of those kits. It's pretty inexpensive, $25. If you're comfortable with soldering a couple of points and looking up the instructions, it's real simple to do. Let me be careful, that way this don't touch any metal. All right, So it came with this board. This is another board that sits up here. You can screw it down, but as you can see, that's part of the quality control of the chip. You know, could be shipping, or could have been they tightened it too tight because it was screwed down. Well, I actually had one screw in one side. So let me take this out. And these are more modifications I did because I want the whole unit to turn off when I cut the PC off. What I did was, I'm not gonna take this apart, but inside is two little power supplies. So what I did was the socket here, I wired this, which is a sensing power strip, where you have a master outlet that once you turn it on, it powers up the other outlets. So I wired it to this, and then ran another plug from here. This plug is actually powering up the speakers and everything else from the power supply. So I plugged that into the sensing thing down here. I might get my screwdriver, show you, but yeah, got it plugged in here. I actually like this board. I wish that you can buy this by itself because it's nice how you have the CGA for your JAMA. You got the JAMA harness here. You got your CGA connection here. Like I said, the monitor has CGA on the back. CGA, HDMI, VGA, 3.5 millimeter out. That's the power. I like that. These knobs are pretty much useless when you're in HDMI mode because it does not change the coloring, but it does in CGA, which makes sense from what I understand. A lot of JAMA and other arcade machines, you have to, you know, if you got a generic cabinet and change the game out, you have to adjust the colors based off of that other cabinet. This is where part of the humming comes from. This is the out from JAMA going into an audio. If you follow this cable underneath the control board, there is a this is where your sound's at. That's where the knob is at on the other side. You can use this right here, 3.5 millimeter, or you can use this, but you can't use both. This is a switch for the audio, just in case the type of arcade board you're using might need out. This is the power board I'm talking about right here. This one is going to the monitor. This one is going to the marquee. This one is going to the audio board. And this is powering going here to your JAMA board. Like I said, I will hope one day they sell this by itself because I like how you got the board here. This is for your JAMA kick harness. These go to your, this is to your kick harness going to your arcade, no, wait a minute. No, these are to your buttons for player 2, player 1 side. These are to your buttons too, joysticks are buttons. If you got DB12, those are D12 connectors, like you can plug, get a D12 connector, something like that, to plug into these if you got like a Neo Geo stick or something like that you want to use. This is, like I said, CGA out, video out. Once again, if you got a JAMA game plugged in, you got your test buttons and service buttons, so you can get a service menu, test buttons for, you know, putting coins in. I like this board because there's a lot of connections, and if you pretty much, this is a super gun without having a super gun, if you get, you know, understand where I'm coming from. For the simple fact, you can plug your JAMA game in here. These are your controls out. This is your video out to your monitor up here. So pretty much it's a super gun without being a super gun. Granted, technically this cabinet is a whole super gun if you really think about it. A very expensive super gun, but a super gun nonetheless. These are the Pico, I forgot the name, it's CP20 something. I can't remember the name offhand. But these are your controller boards. So I like how they did this because you can have the controls from the joysticks go in here that'll go to your CPS. I mean, not CPS, go to your JAMA, but also will go to your game systems or PC from here, which is nice. Because, you know, in my old arcade machine, I had Ultimate IO, which I like, but for example, if you put it in X input mode, you can't use the RGB lights. And not every game, because I have some games that are not on Steam. For example, I got Ninja Turtles through Epic. I got Scott Pilgrim going through Ubisoft, and both of those games don't use direct input. So you have to put the joysticks in X input mode or get some software that'll emulate X input from direct input. But it was a pain in the tail, and I got to the point where I just gave up on using it. Or you buy everything from Steam. So one thing I like about Steam, I wish Epic and Ubisoft would incorporate that, where you can just put any input and it'll work. If you got, everybody knows Steam. You put in a controller, it can translate it to X input, as well as you can change the icons for the game. Instead of being A B X Y, it'll be PlayStation characters. All right, I'm not going to take the top part off because there's really not much up here. A couple of things you got to hook up when you come in. This right here, the power for your speakers may not be plugged in. Luckily, mine was plugged in. It's just a little cable up here you got to get to right here. The speakers you gotta make sure plugged in. Another thing, once again, is QC. I don't know if you can see it up here, but if you follow this wire up, there's a connection going to the top plate. When I plugged it in, the two of the wires just popped out. So I had to sit there and press them back in, clip them back down, and try to hold them in when I plugged it up. I might tape them together to keep it that way. Another thing was, there was a screw. I heard something rattling around here, unscrewed this part, and found a screw sitting around. Definitely you need to take some time out of your day to get this thing properly set up. I can show you the bottom real quick. Let me be right back. All right, got it off. Don't want to pull it too much from the wall because it's plugged in. My RGB and power fans. But it doesn't come with fans at the bottom. It comes with fans at the top, but doesn't come with fans at the bottom. So I put my own fans in so that way, if this gets too hot from gaming too long, it can exit out through here. This is that auto sensing plug I had that I cut the ends off and wired it to the power supply up here. And that's the plug going from the, oops. Okay, come on, start back up, fan. Oops. All right, and that's the plug that I took from, I wired the power supplies to this black wire here to go here. All right. More on the build quality. I noticed a few things, like for example, this crack right here, which don't bother me any. I'm not planning on moving this thing too much around. Once I get this arcade machine sold, it's going in the corner over there. The fit for the back is not quite right. Something's like bent. Like it should just sit easy like this. Like you got the grooves right here. Sit it on. I don't know if you can see the grooves yet. It should just theoretically just sit in, but it doesn't sit in. So I have to push this end over here a little bit to get it in. As you can see, I knocked it over. Great. Hold on. All right, back to what I was saying. So I had to push this in a little bit. As you can see, it should sit flat. I'm no metal worker or nothing like that, but I know certain things should fit flat. There we go. Like this. As you saw, I was struggling to get it in and kind of pushed it out. So let me unlock this back. I wish it was on a hinge, but I understand it cut some costs. Companies got to do what they got to do. Like I said, I got a PC at the bottom. I'm glad it has another shelf right here where if you wanted to put another arcade game here, or you want to put it on the floor. So you got plenty of space to put a couple of games. Like I've seen a demo of somebody had one with a Neo Geo sitting at the bottom, had another game here. As you saw earlier, I had my CPS game up here. This is the jammer harness going to the device itself. Into my game. The shelf is, not the best quality wood, but it does the job. I put USB hub because these cables to USB from the encoders aren't the longest, so I put the hub here. Yeah, I could have put a PC right here, but then it'll block the way of this, unless you got small form factor or a micro tower. So I got a hub plugged in here to the bottom. Let's see, assembly. It wasn't bad at all. Mainly because I went and looked at the instructions online. I looked at a couple of videos prior to that. But yeah, the instructions are pretty much useless. Matter of fact, when you take them out the box, just burn it. Burn it with fire. It's your basic. You could tell this came from Asia or somewhere along those lines because it was not much English or it was bad English. Not really explaining anything, just say, hey, screws. Like if you get something from IKEA or heck, even Walmart furniture, else, you'll get a diagram saying, hold on. All right, I had to get it to let you know how abysmal these instructions are. All right, because these instructions are abysmal. They're horrible. They could at least got somebody that spoke proper English to try to make it a little coherent. Because when you open up, most put together furniture you have to put together, you at least get some kind of pictures to say, hey, these are this type of screw, these are this type of screw, the measurements, this is A, B, C, D, parts are labeled A, B, C, D. That would definitely help a lot when putting this thing together. Because one of the things is, this is the back plate. All right, you have a left side and a right side. It tell you left side, right side, and it has a diagram. Let me go to the first half of this. Matter of fact, the base doesn't even come with the instructions. You have to get the topper to have the instructions for both. So you definitely got to go online or go to their Facebook page to get the proper instructions. So if I skip ahead and get to right here. Sorry if I'm boring you folks to death, but I didn't have any of this information, and I want to make sure other people have this kind of information because there's not many videos out here. I might do more videos, but this is the instructions they give you for the bottom half. Luckily, when I got my base first. I went online, pulled up the instructions, but I also watched a couple of videos. I can't remember the people's name. I'm sorry, I forgot. Shot them. Once I just posted them, I'll put links to all the videos that helped me out for people that picked this up in the last couple of months. But you got the base diagram, right? So when you get into the first things that tell you, instead of giving you a list of all the parts and what they are and having them labeled, which that should have been a left side or right side, or if you're not going to label them, make sure they're universal no matter which side you're on. But I digress. So, the first thing is start off with the lock, which is kind of self-explanatory with the lock and the screws. Oh, be careful, because the screws I got for the coin door were longer than I've seen some videos of what they show here are longer. So I had to get a pair of pliers or something like that to try to get around all 6 screws. All right, and then some of this is kind of, I won't say self-explanatory, but like when you start off here with the handles, you see how it says left panel. How do you know which one's the left panel, right panel? Here's the best way I could tell you which one is left or right. I don't feel like taking the other side apart because I can't really do it. But this is the back of the unit. If you look on the back of the unit, the front panels have little pop-up screw holes. The back side has these flat screw holes, as you can see here. Because this is the back panel. Can't really see it from here. But the front panel has pop-out screw holes to hold to hold that side in. The back panel does not. So that's what you got to look out for. Because this is the right-hand side, and this is the front. These have flats. The front of the cab, the front of it has pop-out screw holes. Those go on the front side. So that's how you know which one's your left and which one's your right. So as you can see, this is my right-hand side. So if you're looking at your right-hand side, this is the right-hand panel. The holes are right here. The holes are here, and same thing on the left-hand side. These are the flat holes. Your front will have pop-out holes. I don't have, let's see. Kind of like how, if you see, matter of fact, see how underneath, see how that screw post, they have screw posts up here, the pop-out. That's what I mean by pop-out holes. They got screw posts. So that's how you know which one's your left and your right-hand side, because the screw posts are in the front. Just keep that in mind. It doesn't say anything in the illustration. Don't really tell you, say this is the front and back. There's no label saying this is, right, this is left. The top and bottom are kind of ambidextrous, but they're not. I mean, no, they're not ambidextrous. I'm sorry. And this is how you know also when you see the instructions, because your right hand side is going to have this like this, the brackets like that. The left hand side is going to have the bracket like that. So it doesn't say anything letting you know which one's the right hand side. Not to mention, see what it says M4 screws, but there's nothing in no table of contents or nothing to let you know, hey, where's the, these are what the screws look like, because there are two different sizes. There are two different size screws. Let's see. Let me grab my. Yeah, actually, it's three different size screws. Sorry. Hold on. All right, like I was saying, there's three different size screws. Like these are the larger ones. I think these are the M4s. These are the M4s, which these go on a control panel. And there's M4s that hold to the handles right here. It doesn't say anything about, like, the handles, for example. You got a little small silver piece that goes on first, and then you got the screw. Doesn't tell you that. I had to figure that out when I opened up luckily everything that you get is compartmentalized. So like the handles and the screws are in one thing, the keys are in one thing. All the parts are in a separate thing. But there's a little metal piece that you put on first, then the screw. So just so you know that offhand. It tell you to do the wheels first, then the legs, but I found it easier to do the legs first, then the wheels, because as you try to, you tighten the wheels down, then you got to put the legs. Either or, it don't make, really don't matter. But once again, it tells you the BM5 screws, but you don't know what they are. Luckily, they're bagged with the wheels. So the wheels are bagged with the screws. That's the only saving grace, is that a lot of this stuff is bagged with each other. So now this is the part where I'm talking about right here. It says left panel, but as you can see in the illustration, which one's left? How do I know this is left? That comes back to looking at this. If you're looking at a side panel and it's flat like this, that's the back. Same thing right here. That's the back. If it got posts coming out, that's the front side. So that's how you know what's left or right. Then you still go through with the shelf brackets. The shelf brackets are adjustable, so you got 4 different size screw holes. This is where you can put it at. I just followed along like here because my PC and stuff, as you can see, the screw holes are like right around the sides over here. All right. So, and then after you get the side panels on, the bottom on, the top, everything else it falls into place. And another thing is, my metal is kind of warped on the bottom, because when I sat this on, I had to hold this together with one hand while screwing the screw, because there's 4 screws that hold the base to the bar top. In each corner, like one here, there's one over here. You can see the post sticking out. That's it right there. So I had to hold this down, like squeeze this down and screw in, but not all the way. Same thing on this side, squeeze that down, and then did the back sides, and then tighten all 4 down. But once it's in place, it's not, wobbling, nothing like that. But just to keep that in mind, because like I said, that's still part of quality control. They need to fix that. They really need to tighten up on that, and they need to label these things. That's the biggest thing. These need to be labeled. Every part needs to be labeled. These need to be labeled left, right, or left, or whatever, to let somebody know, okay, that's the right, that's the left, let me put these together. Because once again, these instructions are abysmal, don't really tell you much, and you shouldn't have to go online to look at a video from a customer that figured it out on their own. It should be, or after telling the manufacturer said, hey, we updated, here's the proper instructions with names, labels, all the stuff, and labels should be on the stuff. You know, you buy IKEA furniture, Walmart, Target, you know, furniture you need to assemble, they all got labels on it that are easy to take off. That's my biggest gripe about that is they need better quality control to look at things. Like, it shouldn't come out like this. I shouldn't see that. The backside shouldn't be wobbly like that. Stuff like the connections shouldn't be reversed. You know, they can cause a short circuit or stuff not to work or burn out. Because that makes more work for them when they got to sit there and have to deal with a customer saying, hey, I plugged everything in correctly and it burnt out. You know, from what I understand, they are working on stuff. If you know, it's just hard to get a hold of them in certain ways. Like, I'm still waiting to hear back from them about my scratch on the screen, because the instructions told me to take the instructions on the front for the front side. Told me to take the plastic off. Not the plastic, but take the, not what do they call it? Not protector, but the bezel. Told me to take the bezel, you know, the plexiglass off, which I did. See, it says remove bezel, which I did. And that's when I noticed the plastic. And they asked me, did I take the plastic? That's when I noticed the scratch. When I emailed them about it, they asked me, did I take the plastic off? I don't know if they meant that I take the protective plastic off, or did I take the bezel off. So I told them, yes, I took protective plastic off and I took the bezel off, but it was still a scratch. Haven't heard anything back. I'm gonna email them tomorrow. Like I said, I think they're based in somewhere overseas, because I didn't get the emails responses back until late at night. So that's the biggest thing. I would say outside of that, the build quality, I think is nice. I think it's nice, other than little stuff like this. They should have better diagrams with the wiring. Better diagrams with the wiring. Like I said, I did little modifications. I did it to the plate instead of screwing into this. I did it to the plate. I wish they would put a button in the back for people that are using PCs, so that way you don't have to do it like I did and put a button. Oh, you can't see. Yeah, but mount a button here to turn my PC on, because you'll mess up your computer if you keep messing with this. Same thing if you put a Raspberry Pi in here, or even a Mister. I think Mister's, you know, if it uses any type of volatile storage, you know, you're bound to damage it by just cutting the power off. Now, for those that are just using arcade boards, yeah, that's fine, because everything is ROM other than save state, you know, game saves, high scores or whatever. So yeah, you're fine with doing the turn off and on. But for somebody like that's putting a, you know, Pi, PC, Pi, Mister, you need something to properly turn it off. This is not properly turning it off. Or put a button here nearby that you can press to turn you know, your system off and on. Not to mention, I think they should set something up where, like, for example, if you got your PC plugged into this, it should be, at least I have a switch, but it should be set up so if it, since you turn the PC on, like, this should be the master. So once this is on, drawing power, it cuts everything else on, and not have to do this, you know, because then if you want to have something where it's just simple as powering it up, turn it off and on, you gotta shut the computer down. Once it shuts down, then you gotta hit the switch right here to turn it off. And then if you want to play, turn it on here, go underneath, you know, depending on what kind of PC setup, turn it on. My little thing, I wish they put a light on that coin mechanism right there, because, you know, every other arcade machine I've seen had lights on the coin. But then again, you know, the caddy cabs, the ones I've seen online, and the one or two I've seen in person, the coin thing was on top. I think that was like a Vuex cabinet that I used, not a Sega one. I've seen pictures of Sega one, but the Vuex one I've seen in real life. Other thing is, I wish this was DisplayPort, but I understand why it's HDMI. That's more ubiquitous. You know, more things have HDMI than they do DisplayPort. It's just me being a nerd, you know, The screen, I wish it was a little higher quality, or at least give you the option to say, hey, I want to bring my own screen in, and give you brackets so that way you can use put your own screen in. I wish you can buy the controller board separate, because that would be nice to be able to have. They don't know. They could be selling this for an additional, $50, $100 or whatever the case may be, so that people can make their own, put this in a case and they can use it as a super gun, or put it in their own arcade cabinet, so that way if they want to still be able to, that's one thing I like about it, so you can still be able to have your outputs going to encoder, but you can use this to run video to your monitor. Like, for example, have one of these where you can it'll have HDMI on it. If they would have HDMI on the board here and VGA and sold this separate, I think they'll make a killing. Because it's hard to find these boards. Like, I was trying to look for a super gun, before I decided to buy this camera. I was looking for a super gun for years, and every one I found either was discontinued or it was selling on the used market for like $300, $400, $500. I'm like, I'm not paying all that money just to play one game at a time, because I'm not really an arcade collector. I just got this one board because it came with my arcade machine. Let me show you something with the arcade. All right, hold on. All right, I'm back. If you hear that extra fan noise, that's actually my arcade game. That's the Dungeons and Dragons fan. I think I'm gonna try to find a replacement for it. Right now I got it booted up, but this is the other little thing that nickels me, is that they give you, which I'm glad they give you a controller board, but it's not really functioning like it should be. For example, if I hit this button, it should change. Okay, it does change the imports. All right. One of the things I wish it did was, whatever adjustments you've done to one input, it should just be with that input. Let me see. Let me check. Yeah. As you can see, the color is off, because this should be a different color. And it's a little wide because I made adjustments on here for the PC to look right. And because I made it, once again, I'm not going to be playing my Dungeons and Dragons too much. Every once in a while I might, feel sexy in the side. I don't want to play my real arcade board, But outside of that, I'm barely play it. So I'll be a PC, so it really don't bother me too much. But if you're somebody that switches between playing on the PC and switch between playing on a jammer board, just keep in mind whatever adjustments you make to fix the picture, you're going to have to readjust it for this. So for example, if I hit the inputs, some people are saying that they're having issues with their input, not switching inputs properly. So far, knock on wood or knock on metal, I've had that problem, but some people have. Like, my settings have been sticking. It's just I wish they had two different settings. I wish the settings were based on the input, not the whole monitor. All right, let me exit this. As you can hear, unfortunate side effect of having my PC controlling the power input, I gotta have the PC on in order to have my board working. But once again, it's something I'm not gonna really use often, so there's no big deal. But I do wish they made it where each setting you do is based on that input. So like, say any adjustments you do to the size, of the height and width of your picture on arcade don't affect PC or HDMI. Same thing, whatever you do at HDMI don't affect VGA and so forth. Let me go back to input. Like, some people with the older models said that this board, it controlled these other functions. Like, this is your power, this is power, this is to get into your menu. So if I push it, I get into the menu. This controls up and down. It even got little labels on it. But this one that says auto should be, it actually does auto if you hold it in, I think. No, don't think it's doing it. But let me exit out. Because if I press this auto, it changes inputs. I know some people complain it don't change inputs. So I don't know, but on my board is changing. My board is on the monitor is changing the inputs. So if I press it again, see it's going through. Right now it says RGB, which is VGA. Press it again. HDMI. Press it again. CGA, or what they call sRGB. So just want to show y'all that. Like I said, I like the build. The build quality as far as materials and stuff. I like it. As far as turn this off. See, turn that off. PC's cutting off, and then turns everything off. I just did some little maintenance around here. Like I put a Velcro on the back of this and put it behind a coin door on the side over here, so that way if I need to get to it, I can just put it. This is stuff I did. Some people complain about the coin doors not fitting properly. Luckily, I didn't have that issue with my coin door and coin doors in the coin drawer. One thing I don't like is these keys stick, but so far I haven't had any issues. So I'll line up. This is one of the screws that goes into the base. So I don't know if I didn't tighten it all the way or did it loosen up. But this is another thing what I mean by quality control. But outside of that, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's one of the things. It's one of those things where I really do feel that quality control is the biggest problem. Quality control and the manual are the two biggest things they need to fix. If anything, if you're going to have loose connections, at least in the manual say, hey, this wire goes here for this wire goes here for that, plug these things in. Since the manual doesn't tell you any of that, if it went for trial and error from people that have bought it or had pre-production units, if it weren't for the trial and errors for that stuff, I wouldn't say I lost. I would have figured it out, but it'd been a case of why the F this ain't working, why the heck this ain't working, questions like that. But once again, now that it's together, I have it here. I like it. Hopefully, the price stay the same or at least drop a little bit. For the price, I really do feel this should have been at least $900 for the whole thing instead of just top $900 for the top. But I do understand, if you look at the top by itself, is a G. The monitor is inside sells for $299. So, you take the $300 off of that. Now you're looking at $699 for everything else. And I'm sure all the components like, the encoders and everything else, you're looking at probably about another 100 to maybe 150 in components. And then you got all the metal. Not to mention sandwall buttons are expensive. You're talking about a pack of 8 costing about what, $25, $30 or something like that. The joysticks, depending on where you get them from, if they are real and not just bootleg saying they're sandwall, joysticks you're looking at between $15 and $30 a joystick, depending on where you get it from. So give or take. So all in all, I would say probably the metal for the case and everything, you're looking at probably about $200 total if you go by their retail price. I'm sure it was a lot cheaper than that, but companies got a company and make money. Consumers, we want it cheap, but companies, they want to make a profit, so they continue to make newer stuff. One of the things I want to say about which nobody talked about, but there's headphone jacks on each side. Now, if you're on the one player side and put headphones in it, you'll still hear out the speakers. But once once something is plugged into the 2-player side, the speakers are turned off and you just hear everything here. So if, like, say for example, if you're playing by yourself and you don't want to disturb anybody with the speakers, plug your headphones into this side right here. As you can see, you got a little dirt on this thing. But plug your headphones in there. I might make some stickers or labels that say headphones here. But that way if you don't want to disturb around anybody, plug right here. Other than that, I like it. I got the U4 version because I'm planning on replacing the marquee with a screen so I can do a dynamic marquee. But it seems like the U2 version, which it's a rounder top, that seems like that's the more popular one that everybody's liking. Hopefully they'll sell it where you could change the mark, like the whole top part. You can like say, all right, I don't want this one anymore. I want the U2 one. You could change it out or whatever the case may be. Hopefully they'll sell separate later on. But for a first-time product, I have to say they didn't knock it out the park, but they hit that ball all the way to the edge and making the other team run to get it. Now it's just a matter of other companies doing the same thing to bring some competition in and step it up, so that way Unico will step it up, because I'd love for them to succeed and make a series of this to make their own. I hope they'll make a version of this with a 16:9 monitor, which the 4x3 is excellent. Don't get me wrong, that's excellent, especially if you're playing a lot of older games. But if you're somebody like me that's a PC, that I'm playing a mixture of newer and older titles, because this is a 1440 by 1080 screen. So if you're playing any modern titles on a PC that's widescreen, you can get black bars at the top or bottom if you set the resolution correctly for the screen. But if you're playing like you saw with my Dungeons & Dragons, which I still got to adjust it, but I'm not going to mess with that because I'm PC. But if you're playing older, 4x3 titles from, 80s, 90s, it's going to look great, look fine on the big screen here. I think that's all I can think about this thing. Sorry it took so long, took all your time. Thank you for viewing the video. I appreciate it. No, I don't have any of that subscribing and liking it and stuff. All I can say is do some research. I'm going to go on Reddit and I'm going to probably do my own little review of it. I was excited to get this thing, and I'm still excited about it. I can't wait till I get my panel back so I can get this thing finished, done, put a trackball, and later get some sending guns, because I like my House of the Deads. I like my House of the Deads, and I want me House of the Deads, and I want me zappers, and I want to shoot everything. And then go back and play some games. So far, I've let my nephews test it out. They like playing on it. But anyway, peace out, people. If you got any questions, I definitely got questions, but I can answer what I can. And other than that, y'all have a good one, good peoples. Later.